Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of The Hard Choice. Simple steps for showing up. My name is Brad Draper. I am grateful to be with you today. I've got one that I think will really change the way you look at things, the way you view your world, and the way you see everything around you. Even further, how you behave with all of the relationships that you currently have and will future have. This topic came by way of a training I went through with one of my mentors. And it has been on my mind ever since, which has been about 2.5 weeks. And as I get into this, I want you to ponder about your relationships, who you interact with, how you interact with them, and by what way that takes place. So let's dive right into it. The topic of conversation for today is your relationship with other people. I want you to ponder about your relationship with your spouse, with your wife, with your business partner, with your coworkers, with your subordinates, with your superiors, with your church leaders, with your neighbors, with your friends. Everybody you interact with, the server at the restaurant, your kids, everybody in your world. I want you to think about your relationship with them from your lens, your perspective, using your value system and everything you hold dear. What does that look like? It should be pretty easy to come up with that answer. It should be quite simple to look at all of your relationships from your lens, because this is how you see the world. This is how you appear to everybody. But I really want you to dive in really deep. How is this relationship perceived from your point of view? And start analyzing it. Write things down. How are you behaving? How are you showing up with your spouse, with your kids, with people you work with, your neighbors, all these things? Now, I want you to take all of those relationships and flip it. I want you to look at your relationship through their lens, using your value system, your points of view, your opinions, but through their lens. Does your neighbor see you run away? From your perspective, you wave, you say hi if they're outside, you're cordial, you're nice. You do all the things being a kind neighbor, right? Offering support if they need support or help. Or from their perspective, they see you rushing out the door. They see you sprinting inside. They see you pull in the house when they're outside and shut the garage door without even getting out of your car, because you're on a phone call or for whatever reason. But from their perspective, they just see you pull in and shut the door. You never walk over and say hi. You always wave from a distance. Why don't you come over and say hi? You've never noticed that they work on their yard all the time to try and make their space in the neighborhood very beautiful to see. You constantly are asking them about yourself or telling them about yourself or what you're up to. You've never really asked them about them, what they're doing, their family, their kids, what's going on in their world. What does your relationship look like through the lens of everybody else? Does your wife see you hustle, grind, persevere, always at events, always on time, always making priority for other people, but never making a priority for her? Whenever you're with her, you're always talking about work. Whenever you're with her, you're looking at your phone or responding quickly to a text, or the minute she starts talking and a call comes through, you say, hold on, babe, this is really important. I got to take this call, and you cut her off. Or she's trying to explain her day and a text pops in from a business partner and you say, hold on really fast. This is really important. I need to take this. From her perspective, if you were looking there through her lens, what do you see? Do you see that, oh man, maybe he doesn't value me as much as he values my work? Maybe he doesn't value our relationship or what we're trying to get to. Or conversely, you see a text come through and you put it off to the side, and she sees you put it off to the side. She sees you making her a priority. She sees you showing up when you say you're going to show up for date night, that you actually, one, held date night, and for two, you were there on time. If you said you're going to be home by 5, you were home by 5. And if you weren't, you called her and let her know otherwise. And that doesn't happen often. That is very rare, right? You're on time to things. You're attentive to things. You have intention behind everything you do with her. What does your behavior look like from the other person's lens? Think about this when you're at the restaurant and you have a server helping you, serving you, doing the best they can. Maybe they're going through a really hard time in life. They're really struggling and they're just showing up the best they possibly can and to put a smile on their face and to serve you. And you're quick. You shove them off. You having conversations and they're not important. Reality, they're very important, especially at that point in time. They control your food. You need to look at the relationships you have in your life through the other person's lens. I promise you, when you start to do this, the way you show up will change. The way you behave will change. Your kids see you sitting on your phone all the time. You take them to cool things, but you never play with them. You take them to the pool, the splash pad, the indoor playground. It doesn't matter. You take them to the amusement park. You take them to the beach. Yet you're on your phone. You're on the calls. You're texting. You're conversing. You're not playing with them. You're not actually there. You're just physically there, but you're not emotionally there. You're not spiritually there. You're not energetically there. What does that look like to them? What does that look like in their world, through their lens? Put your value system on it. If I were to sit with my kids and not be there, my son, my older son, who is very physical touch, he takes great offense if I don't hold his hand, or I don't give him a big hug, or I don't physically touch him in some form or fashion. That way he feels loved. Rub his back when he's tired. Rub his head. He's 5. He loves his back rubbed and his head rubbed. If he just lays on my lap and I'm on my phone, he constantly looks up and then grabs my hand and pulls it down to rub his head or his back. How do you show up in their world through their lens with your point of view? Once I heard this, I started hyperanalyzing the way I did things, the way I behaved. I would go out and speak with the servers and look at our conversation. From my point of view, I'm being cordial and being nice and being attentive. But from their point of view, I'm being quick. I'm being brash. I'm being, lack of better terms, unaffected and uninterested in them. I'm very shallow with my words. Or do you come across with true intention? Do you come across as genuinely interested in who they are, how their day is? How is the work going? How is everything in your world? I genuinely and curiously want to know. Because you can feel that. You can feel the energetic exchange on a conversation when somebody is meaningless giving you response versus intentfully listening. So the whole idea of listening to respond versus listening to listen. When you converse with people, how it should be is you listen to what they're saying, looking for cues, looking for clues on what they're really saying. And then when they're done speaking, it should take you a second to process it before you give a response. You should ponder about what they just said. And then, after a brief moment or two of actually thinking about it, give them a response. It should, if you're truly having a conversation with somebody, that's 2 ways. It should be that you have a pause when they're done talking, and you should not have an immediate fire back answer. You should not be listening, and as they're speaking, you're coming up with ways you can respond. Who dominates the conversation? Are you listening to respond or listening to listen? Are you listening to help, to bolster, to uplift, to bring love, joy, light, passion, ecstasy into their world? Or are they just a cog in your wheel? Are they just a piece in your chess match to move around so you can win the game? Because here's the thing. The more people you help win in their individual games, the more you will win in your own game. Definitely guaranteed fact. I have seen it so many times. Because if you help other people, the law of reciprocity kicks into play, and they in turn help you. And so often they help you without even knowing it. Some of the greatest experiences I've had are when I'm pouring into others mentoring. How cool of an experience it is, and how many lessons I learn to questions I have just by merely teaching, talking, and listening. So much of my mindset mentorship is me listening, not me speaking. So much of the interaction is the person I'm coaching or mentoring speaking, and I simply respond with questions to get them to think down new paths, open new doors, new windows, unlock new things. You must understand you are the one doing the work, not the other people. It is on you to make every relationship as beautiful as it can be. This comes by way of intention. This comes by way of looking at your conversation through their lens and yours. It's not just one-way street. It is a two-way street. And you must understand where the other person is coming from and then respond and behave according to that action. In your world, think about all the relationships that you have had, currently have, and will have. There will be interactions and relationships that happen in your world that you do not yet know that person and do not yet know how they will affect your world. But I promise you, everything will change because of that person. My business partner and I have only actually known each other for 8 months. But we've spent years together at this point by way of conversing and how often people talk. Thousands of hours. I think we're actually over 1,000 hours now of direct communication in 8 months. How important it is to build relationships with everybody. But that comes by looking through both lenses. That comes by taking in account the way we both are interacting. Listening to listen, not listening to respond. This is such a superpower. If you can only understand and comprehend how strong of a superpower this is, if you listen to people to love them, they will feel loved. I have had so many times people ask me, how can I converse with somebody? And they open up their heart, their soul, everything about them to me in our first interaction. And that's because people want to tell you about themselves. They want you to know them. They want you to see them. But so often they're afraid to show because they've been burned in the past, because people have been too shallow in their engagements. It is on you. It is on you to change that narrative, to change that story, and to show up with people as they need it. They're counting on you. Your family is counting on you. Your wife is counting on you. Your kids, they're counting on you to show up the best way you possibly can. Not necessarily the best way you know how now, but the best way. And that includes looking at your relationship through their lens. But that's what I've got for you guys today. That's what has been on my mind. And that is how I've viewed every interaction since I had this training. It has been wild on things that I have changed about myself in the interim while it's happening with somebody, because I thought about how they were viewing me and our conversation and our relationship through their lens. Tell me how it goes. Leave me reviews, leave me comments, message me, and tell me how this has changed your experiences and what you did differently because of this. Leave me a review. Spotify, Apple, iHeartMedia, Amazon, wherever you listen to it. And you can find me on social media at Mr. Brad Draper. Like this thing, subscribe to it, download it for future listenings. Until next week, I love you guys. Bye.